everybody, welcome to day 2. So day 2, we're asking you to, or Tuesday, we're asking you to complete your warm-up, complete your quick review, and now you're going to be watching solving multi-step equations, and you're going to be filling out your notes. Remember, as you watch this video, if you have questions or if it takes you a while or you need to watch or re-listen to something or pause, please, that is the beautiful part of how we're doing it right now. You can pause me at any moment in time. So we have already been doing solving multi-step equations. We're just going to do a little more in depth, okay? Again, using don't call my mother after midnight or your mother after midnight, which means distribute, combine like terms, move your variables in your constants, and then did I write that right? Hold on, y'all. I feel like I'm silly. Move variables, move constants, divide by the coefficients. OMG, y'all. I'm writing things wrong. Oh, goodness. When you get this, this will be fixed. So please ignore Mr. Franco's silly, silly Billy mistake. So we're going to make that all black. Don't call your mother after midnight. Don't call mother after midnight. It should be after, should be divide. I don't know. Divide. All right, so step 1, distribute. Do you all see something that we can distribute on the first problem? I hope you do, because I see parentheses. I always draw my arrows, and this time I'm going to do this crazy thing called I'm going to draw a wall that's going to separate and show me where my equal sign is always supposed to say. Some people like it. It helps keep them organized. Some people don't, and that's cool. So 6 times 1, that gives me 6. 6 times 3k. Well, we know the k is going to stay there, but what's 6 times 3? And they're both positive. That's going to give me a positive 18. Done with that side. Do we have anything that we can distribute on this side? No, we don't. Let's move it on down. Exactly as we see it. Okay? Do we have terms that we can combine? Sorry, I didn't like that. Well, we've got a negative 18 and a negative 6k. Even though they're negative, y'all, that doesn't mean they're like terms. That means that they're both negative, but one has a k, one doesn't. So guess what? They are not like terms, so we do not combine. So we're going to skip CLT. We're going to move to the next. The next one is, and it's really interchangeable. If you want to move your constants first and your variables later, you're more than welcome to. So let's try it. Which one you want to move first? Let's move that negative 18. If it's a negative, to move it to the other side, we would do what? Ooh, we would make it a positive. Ooh, but look at this. This is 18k and this is a negative 6k. We move this 18k to the other side, that means we're going negative. Let's stay away from that. Actually, no, let's do it so you can see what happens. All right, so we're going to move that. We're going to move this like we said we were going to. So if it's a negative 18, to move it to the other side, we got to do addition. Whatever we do to one side of the equal sign, we have to do to its like term, which is that 6, on the other side of the equal sign. Why did we do that? So those cancel out. And what is 6 plus 18? 6 plus 18 is 24. Now look at this. I'm going to write the next step, which is moving our variables in the same line, because we're going to get better. You can do things in one line. You don't have to spread it out as far as we did for the last couple. So if we knew that we got all of our numbers and our constants to the right-hand side, that means we got to move all of our letters to the other side. So right now that's 18K and it's a plus. So to move it to the other side, we got to do minus 18K. And whatever we do to one side, we have to do to the other side. We did that, so those two cancel out. Got our equal sign. What's a negative 6 minus 18 more? Well, negative 6 minus 18 more gives me a negative 24. Are we done? Oh, I wish. To be done, we must divide because we want to know what K is by itself. So that means we have to divide by any number in front of K. So what's the number in front of K? Number in front of K is a negative 24. And if we're dividing by negative 20 on the left, 24 on the left-hand side, guess what? We got to do it to the right-hand side too. Those cancel out. We're left with K. Now, 24 divided by negative 24. Remember, you're a happy person, and whether your friend comes in or they came in for a little bit and now they're leaving, guess what? If they were sad, generally you're going to be negative too now. Okay? So if there is a negative, only one, anytime you multiply or divide, that answer is always going to be negative. And 24 divided by 24 is 1. Now you will see answers like this. See, there's no 1 in front of the K, but the K does equal negative 1. And then let's do we got these 2 more. Now this is a long one. It's a whole lot, but using your steps, don't be scared. Just go step by step. Do we have any fractions? Nope. Do we have any decimals? Yes. Or do we have any parentheses? Yes, we do. So that means we have to draw this arrow to everything inside. And guess what? We've got 2 of them. So we draw our arrow to everything in that side. And we take it one step at a time, y'all. Now, this negative out front, what that negative out front really means, that means that you're multiplying everything in there by negative 1. The beautiful part is that is all you're going to do is flip their signs. So this positive 1 is now a negative 1. This positive 7x is now a negative 7x, because anything times a negative, any positive times a negative becomes a negative. This one, a little tricky, but don't get scared. A negative times a negative is always a positive. And what's 6 times 7, y'all? 6 times 7 is 42. Okay, one more arrow to go. Don't forget, negative 6 times negative x. Now, what's that number really in between that negative or that minus sign and x? It's really just a 1. But remember, I told you they don't like to write it there, okay? So what's negative 6 times a negative 1? Well, we know a negative times a negative is always a positive. And we know 6 times 1 is 6. The only thing we can't forget is that x is attached to it. And guess what? We didn't do anything with that 36. So we bring it on down and we do not forget our equal sign. Whew, Lord, I am sorry that that is not better written. Please pause and write this better in your notes. You are going to become a better note taker, and so am I. So now we have to do combined like terms, CLT. So let's look. We've got a negative 1. Do we have any other numbers on the same side of our equal sign without letters? Yes, we do. So I'm going to circle my like terms that are constants. And anytime I circle, I always circle the sign, whether addition or subtraction, in front of it, because that keeps me on track. Because if I were to add them or subtract them and I don't use the right symbols that are in front of them, my answer will be wrong. So what's a negative 1 plus 42? Oh, you're like, oh, I don't know. Just do it the opposite. What's 42 minus 1? Oh, that's easy. That's 41. Let me write that in blue. 41. All right, so now let's identify our other like terms. Our other like terms, we have a negative 7x. And do we have another term with an x attached to it? We do. We have this positive 6x. So you can do negative 7 plus 6, or you can do 6 minus 7. And 6 minus 7 gives us a negative 1. And what's attached to those? That x. Now again, we didn't do anything with that equals 36. So guess what we do with it? Bring it on down. Okay, y'all, getting close. And as soon as you start going faster, if you want to go faster than Mr. Franco, you get it. By all means, fly ahead, my ones, fly. So we've got just one variable, and it's already on the left. So that means we've got to move our constants to the right. So our constant on the left-hand side of the equal sign is that 41. What's the sign out in front of it? Well, there's no sign, so that means it's positive. So to move a positive number to the other side, you have to do the inverse, which means subtract. And if you minus 41 on one side, you have to do the same thing to the other. We didn't do anything with this minus 1x. We bring it on down. I'm bringing down my equal sign. 41 minus 41, it cancels out. That's why we did it. So now what is 36 minus 41? 36 minus 41 is negative 5. Are we done yet? No, because we don't want to know what negative 1x is. We want to know what x is. So that means we have to divide. And we always have to divide by the number in front of x. Now, if the number in front of x was just 1 and a positive, yeah, we'd be done. But it's not. It's a negative. So we have to divide by a negative 1. And if we do it to one side, we always have to do it to the other. They cancel out. That's why we did it. And a negative divided by a negative is always a positive. And 5 divided by 1 is 5. And you're done. I know it's a whole lot, but you can do it. I want you on your own to try to do the very next one on this page, which is below. And just know that that is one of the problems that was taken off of the STAR test. So you will see this. Remember, if I go too fast, rewind, y'all. I am not live. But I want you to go ahead and tell me what value of x makes the equation true. It's a little tricky. There's a couple ways of doing it. You can use your steps of solving an equation, or you could take each one of these options and substitute them in for x. I don't know necessarily if I would do that. At this point in time, I think I would use my steps to solving an equation to do it. However, if you want to know how to substitute in, I will quick give you a demonstration. So this tells you x equals 3. Anytime you see x in this whole equation, you're going to, in parentheses, put 3. So that means, and I'm going to write it in blue. So originally you had negative 5. You're going to parentheses 3, because this is the one that we're looking at right now, minus 7 minus 4. Again, that x was there, so we're replacing it with a 3. And anytime you substitute in, you put it inside of a parenthesis. So for here, there was a parenthesis at the end, so that's why there's 2 parentheses here, because where that x was, I've got to do a parenthesis 3. So what I want you to do is I want you to put that into your calculator. or use your head. Negative 5 times 3 is negative 15. And now let's do the math. Do multiplication first. Negative 4 times 3 is negative 12. Negative 7 minus 12 is negative 19. Now you've got that negative out front. So it's going to look like this, negative 19. So you still got to distribute. So a negative times a negative is always a positive plus 19. So what is negative 15 plus 19? Hopefully you got 4. So now we know if we use that number and we plugged it in, we know what this side of the equal sign equals. So now we've got to see if this side also equals 4. So I'm going to do that in red. I'm still going to use 3 in place of x. So I'm going to rewrite it down here. So 2, and again, everywhere there's a 3, or excuse me, everywhere where there was an x originally, I'm going to put in parentheses 3 minus 4. Now, why do you say I put it in parentheses? Because anytime a number and a letter touch, they're multiplying. So if you're replacing that letter with a number, you've still got to multiply. So if I were to just pop in a 3 here, it would look like 53, but it's not. It's doing negative 5 times 3, which is negative 15. Okay, so do not forget to put in those parentheses because it will mess you up. So you do what's inside of your parentheses first. What's 3 times 3? 3 times 3 is 9. What's 9 times 4? 9 minus 4 is 5. What's 2 times 5? 10. Does 10 ever equal 4? No, it doesn't. So look, all that hard work. Now, that is how we substitute in, but did that give us the answer to this problem? And I can pause it if you want, but it don't. So what I would suggest is working it out. And let's see one of the answers if it fits. You want to go? You want to try? Let's try. So we got negative 5x. Now that negative sign is the one touching. So that means negative x. So all that, or negative 1. So all that means is everything inside of that those parentheses, they're just going to flip signs. So that negative 7 is going to become a positive 7. And that negative 4x is going to become a positive 4x. Same thing is true for the other side. We've got a negative 2 times 3x. Negative always wins, y'all. So that's going to be a negative 6. Don't forget that x. It's still there. Then a negative times a negative 4. Negative times a negative always gives me a positive. 2 times 4, 8. All right. Now, do we have like terms that we can combine? On this side, no. So I'm going to bring them right on down because I know I cannot combine those terms. Make that a better 6. There we go. On this side, we've got a negative 5x and a 4x. Look at that. We've got our 2 like terms. Remember, I always make sure that that sign out front is together. So what is negative 5 plus 4? Or what's 4 minus 5? 4 minus 5 is negative 1x. Now you could also write negative x. And since 7 is all by its lonesome, we're just bringing it down. Now you could put plus 7 in front of it, but if there is no sign in front of a number, we know that it is positive. Okay? Next step, we got to move our constants in our variables. So look and see what you got. We got a negative 6. So if we move that negative 6 to the other side, guess what? Negative to move to the other side has to be a positive. So that's why I'm going to do it. Plus 6. And if we do it to one side, we have to do it to its like term on the other side. We did that, so those cancel out. And -1 plus 6, or what's 6 minus 1? 6 minus 1 is 5x. All right, now let's deal with the constants. Again, I'm doing it in the same line. You can too. You don't have to spread it out. Save space. So if I moved all of my letters to the left, that means I've got to move all of my constants to the right. So that means this 7's got to get over here. So if it's a positive 7, what's the opposite or inverse of addition? Subtraction. And whatever I do to one side, I have to do it to its like term on the other. I did that because 7 minus 7 is 0. What is 8 minus 7? Well, 8 minus 7 is 1. All right, am I done? No, Mr. Franco. In order to be done, we must divide. That's right. We divide by the number touching x. What number is touching x, folks? It's that 5. And whatever we do to one side, we do to the other. They cancel out. X is, what you find? X is 1 over 5. Do you see that as an answer choice? Hopefully you beat me. Hopefully you got this done beforehand. If not, now you got it. And that is it for this round of warm-up.